Hey, welcome back everyone to yet another stream on this beautiful Saturday morning for me. I don't know if it's Monday morning, Saturday afternoon, uh whatever time it is for you. Welcome. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. And we are going to continue with our pet clinic. I already see people coming in on the chat. Excellent. Let me see. Who do we have here? Starting with Clifford, my squirrel. Hello, my friend. How you doing? Having a good day? I hope so. And we also have Virgil. How you doing, my man? Sunday afternoon for you. All right, all right. Perfect day for perfect time to do some coding. Don't you think? We also have John saying hi from Germany. Hello, John. How you doing? So good to have so many people here. Clifford, Sunday afternoon here. See, that's why I changed, and I apologize. I didn't schedule the stream earlier in the week. I scheduled it for Sunday morning, just thinking about the people that are across the pond, like 7 hours ahead of me, etc. Because doing it on Saturday afternoon turned out to be a little late for people, and they couldn't catch the stream live. So I changed the schedule a little bit. I hope it's working for everyone. Let's see who else. João Paulo saying good afternoon from Portugal. Oh my God, how you doing? I hope you're having a fantastic day. So many people here. Oh my God, this is awesome. Who else do we have? Jeroen. I hope I'm saying it right. Jeroen, hello from the Netherlands. Also Sunday afternoon here. I have 2 people from the Netherlands now. This is awesome. Yeah, Virgil, representing the Netherlands. Did I say Saturday afternoon? Oh, Saturday morning. No, it's Sunday morning right now. I apologize. Yeah, I'm still a little adjusting to time. It's been a hell of a week, I can tell you that. But the good news is we have a new stream and we have a packed schedule for today. Let me check my notes real quick. So last time we were here, we ended up just barely doing what was it? Oh my God, I'm having a blackout here. Multi-tenancy. We ended up setting multi-tenancy. And if you see the screen here, which I'm not going to forget to share this time, this is what we have so far. We have the basics of multi-tenancy, just one clinic so far. But today we're going to, and I don't know if I did this last time or I did it off screen, but I removed the owner's resource because we don't need it anymore. So I'm going to be, in the appointments, it's not going to work right now because the appointments, we reduced the table and we eliminated a bunch of columns. But yeah, we're not going to be doing anything with appointments today. Today, we are going to be doing a little bit more of multi-tenancy, setting up a user's resource so that admins can manage users. And also, we are going to set up a new panel for owners only. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. See, we have more people on the chat. Oh my God. Oh my God. We have Elias. Hello from the Spanish beaches. Oh my God. Spanish beach. I hope you're having a fantastic day, by the way. Elias. I'm saying it in the English pronunciation, but If you're from Spain, it'll be Elias. João Paulo, fine. Thanks for asking. I'm watching all lives about Filament here in this channel. Thank you so much for sharing this content. Thank you so much for watching. I mean, I'm doing this for you guys. I'm doing this for you. Just accumulating all of the knowledge that I can just to give it out to you for free. We also have John Achata from Peru. Hello, my friend with the rocket. Thank you so much for coming in. How you doing? How is your day doing? I hope you're having a fantastic day. We also have João Felipe from Brazil. What is this? Living in Pacific PT. What's PT? Is if I read PT, that's Pacific time. Is that the time zone that you're at currently? We have Bone representing in the house. How you doing, my friend? We also have, oh my God, so many people. This is awesome. John saying, I am in the process of rewriting a project from version 2 to version 3 and cleaning up at the same time. Yeah, reworking. It's the life of a programmer. You do something and then you have new ideas, you have new features that you want to implement, and it's all about reworking, redoing, improving. And yeah, I do have a couple of projects that I want to also upgrade from version 2 to version 3 because version 3 is awesome. Mohammed from Egypt. Hello, my friend. How you doing? How's your day going? I hope you're having a fantastic day. All right, guys. Why don't we get started? I mean, it's already 10 minutes in. I appreciate every single one of you who's stopping by and to the live stream. This is such a great experience. It's like, it feels like hanging out with friends. I hope you're feeling the same. But yeah, let's do some coding. Let's see. Oh, right. Yeah, Virgil, good idea. I suck at promoting because I don't know. It's not really a quality in me, but Virgil is right. I think this is a good time to. I have a Discord. I have a Discord server now. So if you are here in the stream, I believe the link to my Discord server, it's on in the description of this live stream. So if you want to hop into the server, just click the link. And we can have discussions there. We have a post section for posts just for technical help about PHP Filament. So if you catch this later and want to ask a question, the Discord server is the place to do it. And also it's a good place where I can keep the discussion going and answer questions that I can answer here. So I can follow up with you guys on the Discord server. Just pop up, say hi, introduce yourselves, and if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Let's see. João Pablo. Thank you, Virgil. Thank you so much. Do you have a plan to integrate this SAS example with same payment gateway? Some payment gateway. I don't really have a plan in mind for payments, but we can definitely consider it in the future. Right now, I am more interested in just the essentials, the basics of Filament, how you install it, how you set up resources, pages, and how you take the most advantage of the system. And yeah, we can talk about adding payments for SAS, etc. Down the line. But right now, I just want to give you the essential knowledge so that you can make the leap if you haven't started using Filament to start using Filament for your admin panels. Thank you, Joao. I hope I'm saying it right. Are we on a 2 or 3 hour stream today? I think a 2 hour stream should be enough. I believe 3 hours it's a bit much. I don't know how you feel, guys. I mean, we can go a little bit over if time permits, but I was planning for maybe a 2 hour, 2.5 hour stream. Discord invite expired. Oh my! I set it to never expired. All right. Tell you what, give me a second then. I'm going to fix that real quick. Now it's hitting. Okay. So if I copy this and paste it here, I'm going to put it here in the chat for now. If you can use that to hop into the Discord, and at the end, I'm going to update the link in the description of this live stream so that you can use that link as well. I didn't know it expired. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, I'm going to close this and head back to the code because we have to start coding, guys. Come on, let's go. We have much to do. So as I said before, I removed the owners resource because right now owners, admins, doctors, they're all going to live in the users table. So why don't we just create a user resource so that we can manage our users within the system? And we can do that in the terminal with PHP artisan make filament resource. And let's call it user. This is for the user model. Oh, and we can take advantage of the generate flag so that we don't have to code so much. I mean, if we have the option, let's use it. All right. So let's see. Now we have a user resource. Let's open that resource to see how it looks. Filament user resource. Here it is. Okay. So as you can see, when we use the generate flag, it gives us a bunch of code already scaffolded for us. We don't need all of it, but at least it gives us a good starting point. Like, for example, the form, we already have select inputs for the role. We're going to modify that a little bit. We have all of the fields for email, name, and phone. And we have an input field for the verified ad. We don't need that input field right now. We can remove it. And we also have a text input for the password. We're also going to do some modifications to this. We have the table as well. I'm going to move the role column to the end. Right here. But we have name, email, phone. I want all of this to be sortable as well. At least the name. Email can be sortable as well. phone, not so much. Email verified at, we don't need that column. Created at, we don't really need it, but we can keep it because by default, when all of the timestamp columns that we have, they're going to be toggleable. Toggleable. You can toggle the columns, basically. So you can, and by default, those are going to be hidden. And that's another feature for tables. You can have hidden columns or columns that you can toggle on and off. We have the role name. This is numeric and sortable. I probably want this to be based on a relationship. Do we have a relationship for the role in the user's model? We'll check in a moment. I don't think we do, or maybe we do. Yes, we do. Otherwise, it wouldn't do role.name. But I do want this to be a badge, not a number. Sortable as well, and searchable, of course. And at last, we have updated at, as I said before, is a date time. Let me change the format of this to 3-letter month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year, and 12-hour format time, like so. We have an edit action. We probably need a delete action as well. So let's add that real quick. And yeah, I think that's everything we need for now. Let's see how it looks. Jump into the browser and refresh. All right. And we have a table model use does not have a relationship named clinic, of course, because every time you add a resource and you have multi-tenancy enabled, the clinic or the tenant relationship must be present in the model. So let's fix that real quick. Let's open the user model. And I believe we already have a clinics relationship. And I don't want to modify that because I'm using that for the get tenants and the can access tenant functions, which are just for determining what tenants or what clinics this user belongs to and whether or not this user can access that clinic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another function here called clinic just to satisfy filament. This is going to be a belongs to many as well. And all I'm going to do is return this clinics. Like so. This gives me the relationship. Without the parentheses, gives me a collection. So be careful with that. This is a collection. This is a relationship. And I believe with just that, we should be able to see the resource now. And we are. Perfect. Let's see. Glad Love, thanks a lot for making these Filament version 3 video tutorials. I am more than welcome. I just want you guys to have the same level of knowledge and to start using this tool because I believe it is the best admin panel builder out there right now. And I've spent a lot of hours researching, learning, finding out what can we do with it, just so that you guys don't have to scour or do scavenger hunts and documentation pages. Just trying to make life easier for you guys. And thank you so much for showing up. Hi. Krishna saying hi. Hi Krishna, how you doing? Sam, hello from Iran. I hope we use TinyMCE as a custom field in this tutorial because I have attempted to use it and it loads correctly, but when I use reactive or filament wizard, TinyMCE disappears. That's interesting. I don't know about TinyMCE or what it is, but we can definitely explore it. I can definitely do some research about it. And why don't you go ahead and join me on Discord and post that same question in the filament section. Post that question in the filament technical help forum, and we can continue this conversation. And I can help you out to see if we can use TinyMCE in Filament version 3. Oh, it's a rich text editor. I understand. Thank you, Virgil, for helping me out. So yeah, go ahead and join me on Discord, Sam. Post that question in Discord, and I will follow up with you over there. What's up, James, in the house? How you doing, my friend? We've been talking a lot. Thank you for showing up. I mean, I'm more than happy to do them. I mean, I didn't know what I was missing. Didn't know I was missing hanging out with friends. It's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for coming up. All right, so we have a users resource. Let's change that icon. I don't like the stack. Let's go back to code. User resource. Let's change that to user. Better. Also, why don't we, I know this might be a little bit trivial, but I also, since this is like an administrative section or administrative resource, why don't we move it to its own section? So let's group this into a section in the navigation panel. Let me show you how it's done. All you have to do is say protected, static, string, navigation, navigation group. Let's say settings. With just that, the user's resource is now on its own section and it's collapsible. And we're going to do some role authorization so that only admins can see it, but we'll do that in just a moment. Right now, there are some things that I want to do in the edit form or the user's form. Let me explain. First of all, let's change the design. I never liked the column layout. I don't like it. So let's open user resource. And in the form, let's add a section. This take sorry, this takes a schema, and we're going to put all of our inputs into that schema. Did I save? I did. Okay. Next thing I want to do is to be able to assign clinics to this user, because this is going to be an admin. By default, when you run the seeders, all you have is an admin user and one panel. So the admin users will be in charge of setting up all of the users that belong, or all of the users for the system, doctors, owners, etc. No, not owners. For owners, we're going to have a registration form. But setting up doctors, staff, and also giving those users access to different clinics. There is a bug on mobile. If you have multi-tenancy and have a lot of resources links, the last link is cut off. I reported it to them, but it's marked as low priority. Okay, that's good to know. That's good information. Thank you. So yeah, let's add a drop down in this form so that we can select what clinics this user has access to. And also I'm going to move the role a little bit down the line. Let's put the role right after phone. And also I like this to be non-native. Okay, let's use forms, select, forms components select, and let's make one. This is going to be for the clinics relationship. So we have to mark it as relationship. And let me check my notes here. So we have to mark it as relationship, and this relationship takes a couple of options. For example, we don't need a name because the name it's on the make parameter, so this will be null. And we also need the title attribute. And the title attribute is basically what is going to be shown as a label in the dropdown. And this is the clinic name, like so. What else? Since we have, or we can have access to multiple clinics, so this is going to be a multiple. Select. I also want this to be required. And since we are working with relationships, I want the options for the select to be preloaded, so that we have options in the select whenever we click the drop down, and we can see a few options there before we even start typing. And I think that's everything. Let's see how it looks. There you go. And by now we only have one clinic, which is the default. But if we go back to users and we edit the admin user, now you see how this looks. In a few minutes, we are going to add the ability for the admin, for users to register new clinics and also to edit the information for the clinic. So more multi-tenancy. But for now, I want to do some modifications to the password because whenever I create a user, I want the password to be required. Not the case when I'm editing. The other thing that I want is whenever I'm editing a user, I need the password to be hashed before saving that to the database. And if I don't add anything or if I don't write anything in the password field, then I don't want to make any modifications. So the password will be omitted when updating the user. So if we go back to code and let's do some modifications to password. First one is hashing the password before saving it. We can use a function called dehydrate state using. This takes a callback function. And on this callback function, we receive the state of the field. So what do we need to do? I want to take that state and hash it. So we use the hash facade. And we do make. We use make to hash the state of the field. A little bit of what does dehydrate means? Basically, dehydrate, or the concept of dehydration, is when the filament takes all of the data from the form inputs and is sending it to the backend. That's called dehydration. Taking the data from the input and sending it to the server for processing. So dehydrate state using means before or when we are in the process of taking that value, sending it to the server, we can modify that value using this callback function. And all I need to do is take the value from the input, encrypt it or hash it, and then send it to the server. The other thing that I want to do is if the field doesn't have any value, meaning that I don't want to change the password or do anything to the password, then do not send that field back to the server. We can use another method called dehydrated. This again takes another callback function that also receives the state of the field. And what we can do is determine whether or not we want this field to be dehydrated. Do we want to send this to the server or not? So this is going to be a Boolean check. And to do that, we can use the field method. So basically, if the field is not, if the input is not filled, do not dehydrate the field. Do not send it to the server. And lastly, I don't want the field to be required, or I do want it to be required, but only when we're in the context of creating a new field. If we are editing a record and we don't feel if we are editing a record, then that field should not be required because there will be times where I don't want to update the password. So what we can do, the required method also can take a callback function. And on that callback function, we are going to receive a context in the form of a string. What is this context? It means what are we doing? In what context are we right now? What context is this form at? Are we creating a record or are we editing a record? So what we can do is just say, oh, and this expects a Boolean in response. So when do we want this to be required? When we are in the create context. So all we have to say is context equals create. Virgil, why don't make a separate action button in the user table? Do you mean a separate action to update the password? Like a reset action, like a reset password button or something like that? It's certainly a valid option, but if we can have it all in one form and give the user less places to click on, I'm all for that. But yeah, it's also a valid point. I guess when it comes to updating the password, I mean, there's two options. If you're an admin and you have to manage your users and update their information and reset their passwords, at least in my case, I would find it a little bit tedious that, okay, I want to update something on this user and I'm updating the email or updating his name or his phone. And then I remember, oh, I have to reset the password. Then I have to go back and click on another button and then do the password thing. So yeah, I just find this trick very convenient. If you don't have to update the password, don't do it. If you have to do it, you can do it in bulk. Change information, update the password in one place. Virgil, what code do you need to paste? If it is, maybe you can go to the Discord and paste it there. We can take a look after. Is this the code that for a different action? We can definitely take a look at there. Yeah, definitely. If you can make a post on Discord, we can follow up in there, and I can, so everyone else can see the option of having a new action in the table, and everyone else can benefit from this knowledge. So yeah, if you can, go post it on the Discord server, and we can follow up in there. All right. So we have the password, and what else do we need? So we have the password, we have the clinics. Oh, let's make the select non-native. Or this one is already not native. The clinics one? No, it's actually native. Let's change that. Okay, so we have the option to give users access to clinics, to change their roles, and update their information. One other thing that I always like to do when it comes to creating and saving changes, I think we already did this. Let's try it out. Let's create a new user. Actually, we did it. I'll explain what I mean. The redirection. We don't have a redirection on this resource, I believe. So let's quickly take care of that. If you don't remember, whenever we create, let's talk about pets. Whenever we create a new pet, let's say in the create pets table, in the create pets page, sorry, we have this redirect URL, so that whenever you create a record, you are taken back to the index or the list of the records. So we created the user resource, and we don't have this available. So let's take care of that. I'm going to copy this from the pet resource, the create pet page, and then paste it on the create user page. And we also need one for the edit user. And this is optional. So if we are editing a user and we save his information, his or her information, takes us back to the index. No preload. Did I not do a preload for that one? Let me check. Role ID, you're right. We don't have a preload for that. Thank you. That's much better. I'll take a look in the chat in a minute. I want to do one more thing to the user resource. Basically, as I mentioned, this is an admin responsibility. So I don't want other users like doctors who will also have access to the admin panel to be able to edit users. So let's limit the access to this resource. And we could do that with a function called I believe this is, hold on, let me check. I always forget what kind of access these functions have. So I always make notes for it. So this is a public static function called should register navigation. And what this does is, if we return true, then the navigation should be displayed. If we return false, the navigation is hidden for this resource. And what I want to do is hide this or only show this navigation for admin users. So let's return auth user role name, and I want the role name to be admin. Let's see if it works. Okay, I can still see the navigation, and just to test if this is hidden for other users, let's just do a test here, returning false. and I expect the navigation to disappear. And it does. Awesome. Now, this doesn't mean that the user cannot guess the URL. One second. Yeah. I constantly check if I'm sharing my screen. I'm so paranoid right now. So this only means that the navigation is hidden. But if this is false, so no one can access the navigation, but I, for example, do users, I'm still in the users edit page. So the navigation is hidden, but I can still see the resource administration. So how are we going to limit the access to the actual displaying, editing, or creating, updating records? We are going to do this with policies. By default, Filament will observe any policies, any model policies that we have set up. So we can define policies saying who can do what in our application, who can create users, who can edit users, who can delete users, and we can control all of that in policies. So we are going to create a user policy to limit the access to the admin section. But before that, let me take a look at, we have some new messages on the chat. Jose Albornoz. Jose Albornoz. Hello from Chile. I have a question. How do I assign a role on register from as a new register form as a new clinic? Hold on. Let me read this right. So how do I assign a role on register form as new clinic? So if I'm understanding the question correctly, how do you, if you have a registration form for this panel, for example, and there is a new user registering, how do you assign the role of that user? Is that the question? I hope I got it right. So yeah, we're going to show that in a minute because we are going to create a new panel. This is the admin panel, and this panel is not going to have registration, but we are going to create a new panel for owners. And that panel will have a registration form. So I want, yes, okay, perfect. So I want the users that register on the owners panel to be automatically assigned the role of owner, because I only want those users to have access to the role to the owner panel, and also any user that registers on the owners panel will be automatically assigned the role of owner. So we're going to do that in a few minutes. So stay tuned. I need some water. I love your question, guys. I love to see your questions. Remember, if you want to head down to my Discord server. Where's the link? Yeah, if you want to go down to my Discord server, if you have any questions and you don't want to post them here, or to allow me to better help you and give you follow-up and see code examples, that's the place to do it. Head over to this link, head over to my Discord server, and we can have a discussion there. Programando con Luis. Hello, my friend Luis. Saludos desde Uruguay. How you doing, my friend? We have another question from James. Can a user go to the resource URL directly, even if it's hidden in the navigation? Yeah, I just that's an excellent question. As you can see, the user's resource is hidden in this case. I'll show you. In this case, the user resource is hidden. There is no link for it, but I'm still in the user's administration panel. Let me copy this URL here. I copy that and say I go to pets. And then if I guess the URL and just paste that URL here, I can still go to the user's resource, even though the navigation is hidden. So we're going to limit the access using policies. So let's do that right now. Let's add a new policy for users. Policy. And if I remember correctly, let's not guess, and let's check the documentation real quick. Creating policies. Yep, I was in the right track. So this will be a user policy. Now there is the option to, you didn't know I speak Spanish? English is my second language actually, and that makes me actually a little bit proud that you didn't notice that I have I think I have a very thick accent. Maybe I don't. But yeah, I am from Costa Rica and English is my second language. So I do speak Spanish pretty well, I believe. So we can create a policy like this. Laravel will, I think we have the option to specify the model like so. Let me check the documentation. Yeah, we can specify the model if we want to, but when we do it like this without specifying the model, Laravel is going to use naming standards to guess the model for this policy, meaning that we don't need to specify it here. And I believe that we don't have to register it as well, but we'll see about that. So let's just create it like so. This will create a new file in, sorry. This is created in app policies, user policy. And in here, we can define all of the policies for our user. For example, I believe the policy for displaying records, let me check. What are the available policies? Registering policy, we'll do that in a minute. Actually, let's do that right now. We have to register our policy in the auth service provider. I think this is too small. So we have to register our policy. I believe Laravel is going to try to guess or auto-register the policies for or any policies that we have, but I have seen for when I was testing this out, I didn't get any auto registration. I still had to register the policy myself. So let's do that. So in the auth service provider, that'll be in app, providers, auth service provider. We have an array for policies, and here's where we use our user policy. Oh, I should note, and I always forget because I'm so used to this, but every time I write a class, IntelliFence is going to automatically import that class in the use statements. And I know this is not a feature for, this is not everyone has this feature, and that can lead to errors saying that the class is not found. So every time you see me use a class like this and using the autocomplete, assume that there is an import statement at the top, unless I don't show it. But yeah, it's good to make that note. So we have this policy here, registered. Let's go back to the user policy. And let me check the documentation for the available policies. We have one for view any, view, create, update, delete, restore, and force delete. Those are the available policies that we can define for the user. I believe view is when you're looking at a single record, and view any should be for the list of records. So let's try view any. Create a function called view any. I think this is expecting a Boolean in return. And here we define who can view all the users, just the admin. So we can return the same check that we did in the user resource. So let's go grab that for the should register navigation. Okay, so we expect, or I expect, to see a 403 error message. I hope it works. Let's go back to the panel and refresh. Didn't work. So it's not view any. Let's try view. I'm going to keep this. Create a new one for view. Still doesn't work. How about the edit one? Maybe it's just for the listing. Let's create a new one. Edit. Oh, right, because we can we are an admin. That's why we can do it. That's why we can't see it. All right, let me try this again. Jesus. Yeah. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone's screaming at me in the chat, but you're an admin. That's why you can see it. Yeah, sorry. Let me return false here just to test it out. Thank you, everyone. You guys are geniuses. I'm not, obviously. There you go. See? Everything's working. So yeah, view any, that's for looking at all of the users. So if you don't have access or if you're not an admin, you can't see all the users. A lot of backseat developers here. I appreciate it a lot. Trust me. Nothing better than having a few set of eyes behind you to help you see the error of your ways, especially when you're doing it live. I don't think we need one for the view. We don't have a single record view for the user. We do have one for edit, and let's try that out. Let me return false here. Go back and should be able to, oop, I reloaded the wrong screen. Okay, so we're able to see the users, but we can't edit users. Oh, we can? Did I not save? I did. That's interesting. What if I attempt to save the changes? Is that going to make it give me an error? No, it didn't. Update? Oh, yeah. Let's try update instead. You guys are awesome. Did I okay, so view, create, update. Where did I pull the edit? I mean, it's just in my head. That's why we have documentation pages. My brain does not store information correctly. So we have one for update. Let's do the one for create as well. So public function create. Let's copy this. Paste it here. We don't need to return false anymore, I think. Well, I say that, but every time I do that, I do something wrong. So let's just test it. Always test. Don't assume. Okay, we can edit. Let's go back and try to create a new one. Why is there not an option to create a new user? That's interesting. Oh, see what I mean? I'm seeing errors where there aren't any. It doesn't even give me the button to create a new user if the policy does not allow it. But if we do have the option to create, or we are allowed to create users, there is the button again. I think the first return would work without comment. Yeah, you're right. It's just me. I never like to see two returns in one function. And my OCD kicks up, and I just have to comment the second one. It's just same thing with spaces. There are some people that have seen this in HTML tags. They have the property, and they add a space in between the property, the equal sign, and then another space, and the value for the HTML property. And that ticks me up. That ticks me so much. That triggers me so much. But yeah, it's just an OCD thing. No, you're right. You're right. Okay, so we have create, update, and view, and list. And that should take care of the policies. Let me take care of the navigation because I haven't fixed that one. Okay, so the admin user is able to see the navigation, create new users, update them, and do we have one for delete? We don't. Let's make sure that we have everything in place. Back to the user policy, and let me just make sure that it's delete. Yep. And let me check my notes just to make sure that I am on schedule. Oh, if I just return false here, let me just make sure that the delete button goes away. Yep, perfect. That should take care of the policies for the user. So next thing that I want to do is create a new panel for owners. So what do we create? First, let's create a new user. Should register navigation only can be used in the resource, or we can make a list of register navigations for admin role. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the should register navigation, it's a method that belongs to, let me show you real quick. This method comes from the resource class, if I'm not mistaken. So when you're extending a resource, you have the option to either, you can also do it with a protected, let me check, protected static I think it's bool. So these two properties, the should register navigation property and the should register navigation function, are all part of the resource class that we are extending from. So this is only available for the resource class. So it's like a method of saying who has access to this navigation, who has access to the navigation for this resource. I hope that answers your question. So basically, yeah, it can only be used in a resource, as far as I know. In fact, let me show you how that looks. If I follow this, let me clean up this bit. First of all, I don't need that. And let me close a few tabs. Remove the clutter. And if we take a look at the class itself, we see all of the available methods or properties. There is one for, and it wasn't optional actually, we have one should register navigation property, which is true by default. And I believe we also should have a should register navigation option or method that only returns the should register navigation property. But when you override that, then you can add your own checks instead of just returning the should return navigation, should register navigation property of the class. You can do your own checks instead. My OCD is bugging me on the open bracket in user policy. They aren't entered down from bool. Where? User policy. Where? I don't want to trigger anyone. Hold on. Oh, shoot. Oh, close the window. User policy. You mean this one? Oh, right. Yeah, you're totally right, actually. In fact, I'm going to do something here to take care of all of this so that I don't trigger anyone's OCD. If I go back to the code, all taken care of. You don't have to do it one by one. Let Paint do it for you. If you don't remember how we install Paint, it's on the first stream, first few minutes, the essentials that we installed. But yeah, Paint is awesome. All right, OCD untriggered. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I know, right? Isn't that cool? Especially when you're working with someone else or when you're working on a team and you want to keep your code consistent on a with PSR 1 and 2 standards, just install Paint, set the preset, run it, and all of the files look exactly the same because not everyone follow that standard of the open bracket on a new line. I understand perfectly. So yeah, now that we have our policies and I'm not triggering anyone, let's move on to adding a registration, adding a new panel. I was creating a user. Wow, I got so lost. All right, let's create a new user. This is going to be a owner. So let's call it, I don't know, John. The role is going to be owner. We don't, oh yeah, let's just give it the access to the default clinic. And the password will be super secret password. All right. Let's create a new panel for owners. Let's go back to the terminal. Am I sharing my screen? Yes. And let me clear out this. And let's say PHP artisan make. Is it filament panel? Widget? No. Yeah, filament panel. And the ID for this panel will be owner. And we can use lowercase here. Filament will take care of creating all the folders with the right capitalization, etc. Thank you, Virgil. And successfully created owner panel provider. So every time you create a new panel, you now have a new panel provider, meaning that you can configure your panel in a completely different way that we do it with the admin panel, for example. The admin panel doesn't have a registration form. This one will. The admin panel has the admin URL. This one will be /owner. So you can change colors as well based on from panel to panel. Everything that you can configure it on a panel basis. We have attempted to register the owner panel provider in your config app as a service provider. If you get an error, okay, so this basically means that they try to do it by themselves, or Filament try to do it by itself. But if we get an error, we can always go into the config app.php and register the service provider or the panel provider manually. And I'm not sharing my screen again. That's awesome. This is the command, php artisan make filament panel owner. Thank you, guys. And successfully created the owner admin panel. You get the warning that if you get an error, go and register your admin panel provider or your panel provider manually. And James, remember to remove from config app if you ever delete one. Oh, right. So yeah, if you create a new panel and you decide, okay, I don't need this panel anymore, you need to go into the config.app.php and remove that from there, because if you don't, everything breaks. In fact, let's check the app.php file. In the providers array. There you go. So yep, here's the line for the new panel. And if you ever need to delete this panel or any panel, you need to clear that line or delete that line as well. Or if you push that to production on a Friday, you're gonna have a bad day. Never push to production on a Friday, please. Let's check the configuration for this panel. We have a few things that we need to do actually. So you can find this in app. providers, Filament, owner panel provider. Not on a Monday? Mondays are fine. I mean, if you don't want to start your week with fixing bugs, I guess it's fine. But no, I never have problems with Mondays. Well, I do have problems with Mondays, but not with pushing on Mondays. Actually, whatever I didn't push on Friday, I always save it for Monday. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. So yeah, I'm not gonna change the colors on this one. Monday morning is not great. Yeah, I know. Starting the week is not always, well, I try to see it differently, in my opinion. I try to see Mondays as, what am I gonna do this week kind of day. Like I take a few minutes on Sunday afternoon, because most of the time Fridays you get a lot of things that you didn't get to finish. Like maybe you finished but you can't really push anything or like deploy anything on Fridays. So for Monday, I always have a list of, okay, what am I going to do on Monday? This was the thing on Friday that I didn't get to do. So it's like I try to see it more as an excitement or an exciting day for me, because I get to do all the things that I didn't get to do on Friday. So it does change my mindset a little bit, instead of just going on Monday thinking that, oh, it's going to be a long week. Well, no, it's going to be an exciting week. It's going to be a week of getting things done. At least that's the way I try to think. Because yeah, I used to think on Mondays like, let's go on Monday. It's Monday. Let's go to work. But first of all, we get to do the things that we love, or I hope you guys do as well, which is coding. I love coding. I do it even on weekends. So yeah, and that's just my way of seeing it. I try to make Mondays the beginning of an exciting week. As you say that, I am thinking, boy, do I need coffee. Depends on your users. Mine during the week. Weekend the most. So I'd be screwed pushing on Friday with issues. Yeah, you're right. As a rule of thumb, pushing on Fridays, it's just not great. Not saying I haven't done it, but wish I hadn't. Let's see what we have. We have an ID. We have the path. That means that everyone can access this. Instead of /admin, they go to /owner. Primary color, I'm just going to leave it as amber. Oh, one thing that I discovered the hard way is, let me show you. Let's log out, for example. If I switch to the owner path, this took me longer than I care to admit. And I don't know why it's not by default. But whenever you create a new panel, you have your route, but in the configuration, if you compare this owner panel provider with the admin panel provider, the admin panel provider has this logging method. And what that does is that it gives you the route to the login page. And by default, when you create a new panel, this is missing. So if you don't add it, you get this error because you don't have a route to your logging you don't have a route to log into your new panel. And once you add it, there you have it. You have a login page. So yeah, it's weird that is not there by default, but just keep in mind that whenever you create a new panel, you have to add the login route to it. Yeah, login, register I get, because you don't always want registration on your panel, but logging, that should be default. I mean, it's weird that it's not there. So we can technically log into our new panel with, I think it was John, password, and sign in. And this is the owner's panel. As you can see, we don't have any resources. So panels have their own resources, and they get to have multi-tenancy if we decide to, but it's a panel. It's based on panel to panel. So this panel, for example, doesn't have multi-tenancy, and I don't think I'm going to require to have multi-tenancy for the owners, because owners have only access to their own clinic, and that's a decision made by the admins if they create one, or whenever the owner registers itself, we are going to give it access to just that clinic. And we're going to get that in just a minute. Also, whenever an owner registers, they will have their row automatically assigned. James saying, I also define a route in web.php for Laravel login and redirect it to admin as fallback. No, that's a good tip. That's a very good tip to do. Always having fallbacks for your route so that the user doesn't have to do any guessing. Very good. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, let's log out. Now, we don't, technically right now, if I log out, for example, here, and I switch to the admin panel, and I log in as an owner, I still have access to the admin panel as an owner, and I need to limit that. So we want to restrict the access to the admin panel to just admins and doctors. So let's do that real quick. Check my notes. All right, that is done, I believe, in the user model. If we open the user model, we should have a can access panel method right here. So right now, I'm just returning true. And by the way, this can access panel comes from the Filament user class. So if you implement this concern or this interface, you have to implement the can access panel method right here. Uma from Nigeria. Hello, my friend. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you for joining us. You can DVR and watch the previous what we have done so far so that you're up to date. But thank you for showing up. I hope you're having a fantastic day, my friend. So can access panel. Who can access this panel? And for this, I'm going to use, so since this is in the user model, I don't really know what panel I'm at. What panel am I add. But we can use the panel that is being injected into this method to figure that out. So what we can do is, I'm going to use PHP's match. So hold on one second. Let me check my notes real quick. First thing that we need is what's the role of the currently logged in user, so that we can use that to say, okay, this role has access to this panel. So to do that, we're going to get that into its own variable. So role equals auth user role name. And with that, we can then return, I'm going to use match. So let's match the panel ID and this is a string. Oh, not here. Hold on. Right here. So what is this ID? What are you going to get from this ID? Basically, whatever it's set up in the panel provider. In this case, is going to be owner. Or in the case of the admin panel provider, is going to be admin. So whatever you define as an ID, that's what you get back in the getID method from the panel. So if the panel ID is admin, then we are only going to, and this is, we are expecting a Boolean here. So what I want to do is check the role and make, and return a Boolean value based on the user role. Who has access to the admin panel? Well, only if the role is equal to admin, or if the role is equal to doctor. We don't have any doctors yet, but we will. So to sum up, we have the role name, and then we match the panel ID and say, if this is the admin panel, we only allow access to admins and doctors. If this is the owner panel, we only allow access to admins and owners, or owners, sorry. So I do want the admin to be able to access the owners panel, but I don't want doctors to be able to access the owners panel. And in the same way, the admins can have access to the admin panel as well as doctors, but owners cannot access the admin panel. Yeah, I know. I get to practice with match when I was doing enums, and yeah, it's a new, relatively new feature for PHP. It's not Filament or Laravel. It's not from Filament or Laravel. This is a PHP language feature, and it's really cool. Yeah. So now that we have, now that we can limit the access to the panel, we save this and then come back to the browser. I believe if we refresh, we get a 403 forbidden, meaning that we are logged in as an owner, but we can't access the admin panel. And I don't know if we'll have time, but you can customize this page, because right now having a forbidden 403 message can be confusing for the user. If they logged into the wrong place, they don't know what to do next. There is no hints, there is no help. So we can modify this forbidden to maybe give a little bit of a hint to the user. Maybe you're logged into the wrong place. Here's a link based on your role. Here's a link to the correct panel. So we can do that in Laravel. Maybe we'll have time to do that, but we'll see. We'll see how time goes. All right, so let's go back to the owner panel. Wait, what? Forbidden? Did I do something wrong? I should have access to the owner panel. Let me check. Oh, not owners, owner. There you go. Can we make automatic redirect to the panel depending on the role? Yes, it does require some, and I haven't done this myself, but I do have the idea of how to do it. For example, in the error page that we can customize, we can make it so that instead of showing the 403, instead of rendering the 403, let me speak to the camera. If we modify and we create our own 403 error page, instead of rendering a view, we can just render or redirect the user based on its role. So we can do that. It does require some creativity, but it can be done. And I think that's, like I said, I haven't tried it myself yet, but I believe if you modify the error page and just return a redirect instead of a view, I believe it can be done. If I can't show an example here, maybe I'll post it in the tips and tricks in the Discord server. For everyone who doesn't have the link, let me just post it again. Take this to the different monitor. You can use that link to register to the Discord server, post questions. There are sections for tips and tricks that I'm constantly updating for PHP, Laravel, and Filament. So you can check those out. And again, if I can't make an example of redirecting the user to the correct panel in the stream, I'll make sure to post a trick or a tip in the Discord server. All right, so we have two panels. We have limited access to those panels. Now let's, one other thing that I want to do is be able to register or give the owners ability to register give the owners the ability to register on their panel. So let's do that. I'm going to sign out here. And I want a registration form. We can do that in the owner panel provider by adding the registration method. By just doing that, we now have a sign up for an account for an account link. Could do PHP in the blade too, so you don't lose the whole error page. That's a good idea, actually. We could, you could even delay. I don't know if it'll be an option, but you could just, if they have poor connection, we can just show a message that you are being redirected to the right place while the browser is loading, and you already did the redirection. That's a good idea. Thank you. So we have a sign up link. And if we check that form, we have by default a name, an email, password, and password confirmation. But we don't have a phone. And if we try to sign up now, we're going to get a database error saying that the phone cannot be no. So we need to take this registration form and customize it to our needs. And we are going to do that right now. How long have we been streaming for? 1 hour and 42 minutes. I think this will be, I want to do a couple of things. We might go a little bit over the 2 hours because I want to do this registration page. I want to add tenant registration as well. And I want to limit the access of who can see and modify the tenant information, in this case, the clinic, and also who can add more clinics to the system. So hopefully we can get to that today. Okay, so to modify the registration form, we need to create a new registration page. And we're going to do that by creating a new class. Let me check my notes real quick so I don't do it wrong. First of all, we need a new folder inside. Let me collapse this. So inside app, filament, we're going to need a new folder, not a new file, new folder called pages. And in that folder, let's create a new folder called auth. And in here, let's create a new file called register.php. This is going to be our registration page. And we are starting from scratch. Let's quickly give this a namespace of app filament pages auth. Let's re-index IntelliFence so that I get auto-completion features. And all you have to do, this is a base class, this is a basic class, and all you need to do is extend from the base registration class. So you do that by saying class register. We're going to call this register. And we are going to extend from another page class. We are going to extend the currently active registration page, and we are going to extend from that. So let's first import that class. and that is located in filament pages out register. Since it's called the same way as the current class, we need to rename it as base register page, or at least that's how I choose to call it. Yeah, that's a good idea. But the only thing that the only thing that does that I didn't like is that, first of all, I think you can still give it the folder structure, like putting that in filament pages out. You can do that with in replacing name with out register, but that will extend from a different class, I believe. I think the class that command, I mean the class file that you get from that command extend from, I believe, basic page or page, some other class. And instead of that, I want to extend from the base out register class. So even though it's a little bit of a longer path, I don't have to make those reworks. So I get to start from scratch and create the class that I want to. As I said, yes, it is easier, but it saves me from the. I think it makes resources filament pages page as well. Yeah, actually, let's try it. I mean, we're here to learn. I'm gonna close this. Don't save it. Let's remove the out folder. So let's say PHP. Oof, what is that? PHP artisan make filament page, and I'm going to put it. Let's try this. Out. Maybe / out register. Do I want this in a resource? No. Which panel do you like to create this in? This is going to be for the owner. James and I are making a challenge for you again. Awesome, bring it on, man. I'm always for challenges. I always like to challenge myself. Otherwise, you get too comfortable in the things that you know. If you don't challenge yourself, you don't learn new things. Thank you. Thank you for keeping me on my toes. So successfully created auth register. Okay, I think that might have worked. Let's check it out. So we have filaments. See, it created the page in owner pages out register, which is fine. I think. Owner pages out. Yeah, I don't hate it. Because yeah, this register page is for the owners. Let's see how it looks. It extends from page, but I don't want to extend from page. I want to extend from filament pages out register. as base register page. We don't need a navigation icon, and we do need the view. Actually, we don't need the view. That it's already in the base page, I believe. Yeah, I think, yeah, James, I think this warrants a video. So many video ideas. You have no idea how many ideas I already have for videos, but time is the problem. And by the way, maybe I can take this opportunity to let you know, guys, that next first of all, I'm gonna keep doing the streams on Sundays, but next Sunday there's not going to be a stream because I'm moving out, or I'm moving, so there's going to be a lot of figuring out and setting up getting my setup done again. Currently I'm in Utah, but I'm moving back to Costa Rica in a week. So it's going to be a little hectic. I won't have time to create a video for this week or have time to have another stream on Sunday. So next Sunday there's not going to be a stream, just so you know. But the Sunday after that, we're going to be back with another stream. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, the base register class, there is a method called form. If I'm not mistaken, let me check. So in order for us to modify the form that is shown for the user when it's registering and add a phone number to that form, we can do the following. We can override a function called form. And in this function, we expect to return a form schema, but we also get a form that we can use to create our own schema. So let's return form schema. And we also have access to the commonly or the currently used form inputs so that we don't have to recreate the entire form. For example, we can have the name input. So we can do this get name form component, and that'll give us the form, the name input and all of its configuration. We can also have the email. So this get email form component. And this is where I want to have a phone right after email. So let's add forms. And I think I need to, let's use Filament forms first. Then I can say forms components. And this is going to be a text input. For the phone, I want this to be required. And format this, or this is going to be a phone. So let's do it, let's call tell, so that it accepts the correctly format telephone numbers. And from there, we can just use this get password form component to get the password, and also the password confirmation. So this get password confirmation form component. And one very important thing that I think is missing from the documentation pages when they talk about overriding this page. Whenever you override the registration page, always make sure that at the end, chained to the schema call, you need one call to set path, state path. And you pass the string data. If you don't do that, you're going to get an error message saying that your fields cannot be null. So it's you submit the form, and Laravel runs the validation thinking that you are not sending any data to register the user. If you don't do that call to state path data, you won't be able to send the user information to the server to be registered. So keep that in mind. I believe that's missing from the documentation. So it took me a while to figure it out. And yeah, I believe that's all we need for the form. Let's save this and check it out. Oh, right. We created the class, but we haven't told yet the panel that this is the page that we want for the registration. And we do that in the panel provider. So open owner panel provider, and the registration method accepts a class name that we can use to override the currently used one. So if you pass register app filament owner pages out class. So again, we import our own register class up here, and then we pass the class name to the registration method in the owner panel provider. You're leaving the US? Yeah, I do have to leave the US. I've been here for almost a year. So, and for visa purposes, I have to go back to Costa Rica, and I have to stay in Costa Rica for about a year. And I'm gonna settle my papers, and the next time I come back, fingers crossed, I will have a green card. So yeah, unfortunately, I do have to go back. No problem. First, get yourself settled. Yeah, it's going to be moving is never fun, honestly, but I do welcome the change. Whenever you stay in the same state, whenever you are in the same place doing the same things, you have the danger of getting comfortable. And I'm not saying that you always have to be moving and you have to change everything all the time, but you do need a little bit of a kick sometimes, like moving to from Utah to Costa Rica, or when I moved from Costa Rica to Utah. It does give life a little bit of spice when you make changes like this every now and then. It's not healthy to do it all the time, but you do need some you do need to move things around every now and then so that you don't get comfortable. But yeah, it's not going to be fun. I do welcome the change. I do miss my house. I do have a house in Costa Rica, so I'm going back there. I'm gonna do my streams from there as soon as I get settled, and then again, if God permits, I will be back within the year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems Filament is meant for crude operations. Is there a way to implement other custom logic? That's a very good question, actually. I did thought so myself that, well, this is just for create, update, and delete. But the good thing is that it makes everything around those operations a lot easier, because if you think about it, whenever you create an admin panel, yes, you do need to create, update, and delete, create, update, and delete records and show list of records. But there are so many things around that just keeps you from moving forward. One thing that comes to mind right away is whenever you have a table, just making that table sortable, making that table searchable with a quick search, adding filters to tables. Things like that are small details that are needed for the create, update, and delete. But having to create that every single time keeps you from moving forward, and it just slows you down. And the fantastic thing about Filament is that you don't have to worry about those things. You just create a table and you just give it the filters and create the columns and make those columns sortable and searchable. And you need badges for a column, you can have badges for a column real quick. So it gives you the ability to just focus on the features that you want instead of having to worry about the details that come with those features, if that makes any sense. Yeah, adding a global search. I'm looking forward to do that, actually. I saw it in the documentation pages and I haven't been able to test it out, but just having that, I mean, that is a feature that requires time to implement. And just having that in like 5 minutes or so is just, it frees your mind to think about other things. Filament is a great tool. Stack makes development a lot easier. I agree. I do agree. And also the fact that it's based on, yeah, tail, I believe what the style tall stands for. I believe it's Tailwind, Alpine, Laravel, and Livewire, right? So yeah, it's based on Laravel 10, built on top of Livewire 3. So even if you want to go crazy and create your own full page Livewire components, you can do that. You can create your own components, create a custom page, and put your own components into that page and make it look whatever you want and do whatever you want. So it doesn't limit you to just crude or create, update, and delete functionality. You can go crazy with your own Livewire components. When was the complete course of Laravel coming? You know, I have that in the back of my mind. Like, I always have that in my head that I should do a full Laravel course. But again, it's a little bit difficult. And I do have the idea and I hope I can make it, but it's going to take so much time. And balancing that with a full-time job and creating content for YouTube so that YouTube doesn't hate me, and now doing live streams every week, hopefully, not this, hopefully. um yeah, it is something that I'm thinking about, and hopefully one day I can have like a complete start to finish course on Laravel, but it's not going to be soon, unfortunately. It does suck that you can't really customize the table view much, though. Like I want to change it to cards, not table at all with custom formatting. And that's challenging. Yeah, you're right. Have you tried the grid? Like setting a table as a grid, and I believe in the documentation you can change, you can use the what was it? The Let me look it up real quick. Table builder in the layout, the stack. So you can use this, the split actually. You can use a split to change the layout of a table. And then you can use grid, if I'm not mistaken. Arranging records into a grid. Yeah, you can use, what is it? Content grid. So that you can, the table, and I believe they use this to show in, have you seen the plugins page, or at least the version 2 plugins page? I believe that's what they use to show the little, to show the content in like little cards instead of rows. So if you do this, your table is going to have the record in a little square, and you can control how many squares per row you have based on responsive breakpoints. So maybe try content grid. If maybe that's set, maybe that will help you to create cards. But yeah, it does have limited layout options as of now. Always forget to share my screen. So yeah, I was looking at this section of the documentation where you can use a grid to display the contents of your table as a grid instead of a row. Thank you, Clifford, for reminding me. All right, that's a lot. That's enough of a tangent. Thank you so much for all of your comments, guys. I really appreciate it. But yeah, let's move on with the code. Let's see where we ended up. Registration, we set up the registration. We set up our own registration page. And I don't think we ever refreshed that. So let's do that. And there you go. Now we have a phone. Now we have a phone field for our registration page. Now, the other thing that we need to figure out is the role, because if we submit this registration form right now, the role cannot be null. And we're going to have an error in the database saying your role ID cannot be null. So how can we automatically assign a role to the user when they register in the owner panel? So the way I figured out we can do that is, if you go back to the, where was it? The registration page that we just created. Virgil, hidden field. I thought about that, but the problem with that is that I could technically open the developer console in the browser and change the value of that hidden field before I submit the form. So technically I could assign myself a role of admin using that technique. So I tried that, but I didn't like it. I felt like it was a little bit too exposed. So instead, I know, took me a few hours to get here. So let's, the way that I did this, the way that I managed to do this is that inside this base register page, there is a method called, if I'm not mistaken, called register. If we take a look at this register method, this is where we create a new user, or where we handle the creation of a new user. So what we can do is take this function as is and then override that in our own registration page, like so. And it's telling me, oh, there is a bunch of imports that we need to do. So that's the problem with copy paste. For example, we need to import the registration response class. We probably need to import the too many exception class, the notification class, and the registered event, and the filament facade. Do we need the no, we already imported registration response. So yeah, make sure you import all of the classes that this method is using so that you don't get errors when you try to register a user. But the good thing about this is that the only thing that I want to change is in between these two lines, because here is where we get the data for the user before registering it in the server. And I can just say data role ID equals to, and I can use the role model and then use where name to find the owner role. And then I can call first and then use the ID. Right click on a class and then import all. I didn't know that. I always do one by one. Thank you. I'm going to try that next time because there's always one that I forget. Thank you for the tip. And yeah, this is for VS Code. All right, so with this, technically, anytime a user registers on the owner panel, everything else stays the same. We are not going to change any of the current functionality, like any of this. I haven't looked into it, but we're going to leave that as is. Everything else stays the same. The only thing that I want to do is fill the role ID and make it so that the user is automatically assigned the owner role. And then the next line is where the user gets created. So let's give that a try. Let's create a new, let's register as an owner. I'm gonna reload this just to be safe. And let's say James. Password is password. Password confirmation. And then sign up. Awesome. Now let's check to make sure that you got the right owner. So let's do PHP artisan tinker. And let's say user. Let's do all. And here is James, and the role ID is 3. And if we do user find 3 row name, it got assigned the owner role. So that worked. Perfect. All right, awesome. We have a registration form. We have a registration form for the owner panel. We have access restricted to just owners in the owners and admins on the owner admin on the owner panel, and just admin and doctors in the admin panel. So what's next? All right. The next thing I want to do is be able to register new clinics. Let's see if how much time do we have? 2 hours, 17 minutes. I think we can accomplish this in maybe 20 more minutes, hopefully. So yeah, let's give it a go. In order to be able to register tenants, and let's refer to the documentation for this. Panel builder, multi-tenancy, adding a tenant registration page. The process is very similar to adding a panel registration page. You need to create a new page class, and you need to extend the register tenant class. And you have, thank you so much thank you for the hearts, guys. Love you guys. You need to implement the get label method, the form method, so that you can have the text input for the clinic, for the clinic name, and then the handle registration, so that we can actually create a clinic in this case. So to speed things up, I'm going to copy this code. And we need to create this page in Filament Pages Tenancy, Filament Pages Tenancy. So let's create that folder. So in the Pages folder that we already had, let's create a new folder called Tenancy. And in this, we are going to create a new file that is going to be called Register Clinic in our case. So new file, Register Clinic. And I'm going to paste all of that code here. And then, oops, I forgot the PHP tag. Really? Oh, wow. That goes to show how little I have to do open PHP tag nowadays. So we are extending this. The class name is Register Clinic, first of all. The label is Register Clinic. And we're going to change this class to, actually, first. Let's do this. All right, from the beginning, class register clinic extends register tenant. The label register clinic. The form, we only have a name, so this can stay the same. And the handle registration, we need the clinic model in our case. So the new clinic will be, to create a new clinic, we just call clinic create with the data from the form. And then we, I believe this is not members. We need to attach all the users, or actually we need to attach the currently logged in user that is creating the clinic to the current clinic that we just created. So in this case, what was the relationship name? Was it users? Let me check. Yeah, users. So back here, we need to say clinic users attach the currently logged in user. And then we return that clinic at the end. So that's step one. We have a registration page for a new clinic. Step two, just like we did with the login page or the registration form for the panel, we need to tell the panel that we want to have a tenant registration form. And we do that with tenant registration. So I'm going to copy this, go back to the admin panel provider, and somewhere in here we can say, let's put it here. Tenant registration, and instead of register team, this is register clinic. And I believe that's all we need as of now. With just that, if we go back to, let's log in as an admin. And yes, the role for this user creating a new clinic will be admin, yes. But I need to, technically anyone that is logged into the admin panel, even doctors, and we're going to see that, when you log in as a doctor, I don't want doctors to be able to create new clinics. I just want the admin to create new clinics. So we're going to limit the ability for the user to create clinics based on a policy. But that requires a trick, and you'll see in a minute. So first, let's sign out. Ooh. Register clinic doesn't exist. Are you sure? Oh, the namespace was outside the PHP tag. Makes sense. Again, this happens when you do copy paste. It's not uncommon. What's the error again? App register clinic. So, oh yeah, because the namespace was wrong, the use is also wrong. What is it? Register clinic. Yeah. Let's delete that line and let's import that class again. All right. Any more complaining? No? Signed us out. I did sign out. So let's log into the admin panel. And let's try logging in as an admin. We don't have a doctor yet, I believe. So when you do add a registration page, what you get is a link in the tenancy menu to register a new clinic. And when you click on that, you get this page. And from here, you can create a new clinic by just providing a name. Let's call it My Clinic. So that allowed us to create a new clinic. We get taken to that, or we switch to that clinic automatically. If you see here in the tenant menu, now we have two clinics that we can switch back and forth. And when we created a new clinic, now the user, which is the admin user, now has access to that clinic. It should have. Oh, right. We don't have a column here to show what clinics this user has access to. We should have that. Let's do that, actually. Okay, closing a few tabs here. And let's go back to the user resource. And in the table, let's add tables, columns. This will be another badge column. So text column, make. This will be for the clinic. Clinics. We do have two relationships in the user model class, but I'm going to use clinics.name for this case. I want this to be a badge. I want it to be searchable. And that's it. I believe if we refresh now, we should see, yeah, there you go. So this user got automatically assigned to the My Clinic when we created it. And we can see which clinics this user has access to. Now, let's say that we have a doctor in the house. And let's call this doctor I don't know, Virgil. Okay, Virgil, you are promoted to doctor. Let's give it a phone. Doctor, and you're gonna have access to just My Clinic. Yeah, you get a raise. Since you're a doctor, you are now a developer and a doctor. How's that? Okay, so we have an admin and a doctor. But what I want to do is, if you're logged in as a doctor and not an admin, I don't want you to be creating new clinics. So for example, let's log out from admin and let's log in as the new doctor. And you can see that you only have access to just this clinic, but you can register a new one, and I don't want that. So what we can do is create a new policy for clinics. So let's do PHP. Let me clear the screen real quick. PHP artisan make policy clinic policy. Let's open our new policy. And let's create the, what's it? Create, right? Let's add the create policy. And we only want admins to be able to create clinics. So we return out user role name to be equal to admin. Okay, technically, and I hope this is correct. Technically, if we reload now, let's see. Okay, yeah. I was expecting this. So yeah, technically, you shouldn't have access to creating a clinic because of the policy, and the documentation says so, that you need, that Filament is going to observe your policies and give you access and technically hide this link if you don't have access to creating a new clinic. But, and I found out this week, that was introduced in one of the recent deployments of Filament. So you need, in order for this to work, you need to do composer update. You need to be in the latest release of Filament. And let's see if this works. All right. Let's go back to the browser, refresh, and now the link is gone. So yeah, this took me a while to figure it out. In the version that we started this project, the clinic or the menu was not observing the policies for the clinic or for the tenant. But in a recent, since we started this streaming, this project, there was a new release that added that observation of the clinic policy or the tenant policy to when the tenant menu was being built. That's funny because earlier I was going to ask, do you update to new Filament release as they come out during development? Do you prefer to stick to one till a bigger update? Yeah, I didn't even think about that, to be honest. And I was in the Filament Discord asking questions, and I got to talk with, what's the name of the creator? I forget his name. Dan Harin, or the guy that created Filament, one of the top guys, right? So I created a post saying, this is not working for me. The link should hide. How do I, what's not there? And I even say, and I even posted that, well, this menu is not observing the policies. The method is missing. And he said, have you updated to the new release? And I was like, no. So yeah, I was corrected by the creator of Filament itself to do the basic things. So that was fun. So yeah, in this stages of in this stage of the state of Filament, since it's so new, it is recommended that you are continuously updating, because if you check their Discord server, there is a section for new releases, and they are constantly putting out fixes and bug fixes and stuff like that. So yeah, if you are using version 3 for your project as of now, at least once a week you need to update to the current version. Thank goodness it was released. That would suck if you couldn't hide with policies. Yeah, and I was trying a lot of different things myself to try and hide it, and I was just hitting a wall. That's why I went to their Discord server and posted a question, and thankfully it is a lot easier this way. Yeah, it does. It does because you might encounter issues that are only related to not being in the current or the latest release. So it will save you some headaches if you just keep an eye on the releases, and every now and then you do composer update and you keep your project up to date. I say to always keep updated during development because that's the best time. I agree. Once it's pushed to production, you can lock it down to a certain. Once you have everything in place and everything is working, yes, you can lock it down to one specific or the current version, and just keep it like that. And keep the only thing that you have to remember is that if it is in production and you add a new feature, test it in development. You make sure that it works and that there is no issues with the current version. And if your new feature does require an upgrade, then yes, you have to upgrade in production as well. But during development is the best place to just keep refreshing the release version. What about the user's resource hiding from navigation? Didn't we do that already? I don't think that's not done with policies, because why else would they put in a should register navigation? Because technically you can have navigations for resources that you don't really have access to. If you try to access something that the policy doesn't allow you to see, then you get a 403. But the navigation, you could technically have the navigation to show, but then again, they give you the should register navigation method so that we can hide it or show it based not only on the role but many other checks that maybe your application needs. Yeah, again, I think we do need it, at least for the navigation, because in our case it's just roles. But what if the application doesn't have roles, or doesn't need to hide or show things on the navigation side based on roles, or maybe there's something else that allows the user to show or hide navigation items, not just for the roles but for many other things. So it does make sense to have that not being dependent on the policies. At least that's my understanding. So we're not able to register new clinics. How about modifying the clinic information? Let me show you. So let's go back to admin. So we can create new clinics, but what if I had a typo on the name and I want to change the name of that clinic? Admins should have access to modifying the clinic or the tenant profile. So to do that, we're going to add a profile page for the tenant. And let's do that with this. Again, it's very similar to the process that we followed. We need another page class. We need to pass that page class in the panel provider. And then we need to set the policy so that only certain people are able to modify the clinic and see the link that we're going to see when we add this page. So just like before, I'm going to copy this real quick. And let's create a new class inside app filament pages tenancy edit clinic profile. So app filament pages tenancy, create a new file, edit clinic profile.php. Paste this here. And in this case, it's edit clinic extends edit tenant profile. The label is clinic profile. And for the form, we only need the name. Now we need to go to the panel provider again. App providers, filament, admin panel provider. And then we need to have, what is the function? Tenant profile. So we add tenant profile and we pass the new class here. So edit clinic profile class. Let's go back to the browser. We should have one more link in the tenant menu for the clinic profile. If we click on that, we can change this to My Awesome Clinic, save the changes, saved, and now it doesn't reflect right away. You just have to refresh or just move to some other place, and there you go. Now you have the right name. Doesn't refresh here either. So let's move to the dashboard real quick. Interesting. Oh, did I change? Okay, that's why. I changed the name to the other one. I didn't meant to do that. So let's. Default clinic. Save changes. This is just for me not to get confused. And refresh. Switch to my clinic. Edit the profile. And this one is called My Awesome Clinic. There you go. That's what I wanted to do. But now I need to hide the profile link when I'm signing in as a doctor. Because now we have the clinic profile and I don't want doctors to be able to modify the clinic name. So again, policies to the rescue. We go back to the clinic policy and add another function for update. And just like that, the link is gone. Awesome. Can you explain, what is it? If you have time, can you explain how to send an email invitation when you add a new doctor? An email invitation. That'll be interesting. Yeah. Tell you what, since we have we've gone for quite a while now, 2 hours 46 minutes. We have covered a lot, so let's do this. That's the first thing I'm going to do next time I stream, but since I'm going to stream in 2 weeks, I will also post these how to go to the Discord page and post that question in the filament section, so that I will do it in the next stream, but it's going to be in 2 weeks. In the meantime, if you post that question in the Discord, I will give you the answer there much earlier, and so everyone can have it. So yeah, again, let me give you a link so that you guys can go to Discord and sign up. Go to chat. All right, guys, thank you so much. It's been amazing. We are making great progress. Please give a like to the stream if you find this helpful. Follow the link, join me on the Discord server, post all of your questions, everything, all the questions that you have, not just for this, but for Filament in general, or PHP, or Laravel. Whatever questions you have, I'm here to help. Thank you guys for being here, and see you in the next one.